Wow. Guess what? You already know this. You already know everything that I'm about to talk about. So it's been talked about tonight. It's been brought to your attention. And now you're going to feel it. How I came to this topic that I'm going to talk about was very innocent. What I did was take some time with people that I loved. Two amazing, complex individuals. Two people that really inspired me. They're both 7 years old. The first one, my niece, Adriana, my great niece, really, she was visiting me for the summer, and she was 7, all of 7. And her mom said, I think she just thinks she knows everything at 7. At 6, she would do anything I said. But at 7, she knows everything. And I thought to myself, well, maybe she does. So then my nephew came to visit me as well. And we were having breakfast, and I said, we're going to sign up for a surf lesson today, okay? Because he wanted to surf. So I said, we need to have a surf lesson to surf. I need to have a surf lesson if we're going to surf. So we're going to have a surf lesson. And he said, I don't need a lesson. I can do that. I said, Yazin, where did you learn to surf? Because as far as I knew, he had just started swimming. And he said, on the cartoons. Okay, Yazin, show me how to surf. And you know that he got down, he pulled up his knees, he hit his foot, and he did this. And I said, we're still getting the lesson for me. So we did the surfing lesson, and afterwards, I think his mom was really, really concerned, but she was relieved afterwards because she kept on telling me, he's going to try to go out on his own. He knows everything at 7. Maybe he does. I had this conversation with both of these amazing young people where, because I'm the auntie, I get free reign. They go home with mom, right? I said, you know a whole lot. You know a bunch. But when you're 8, that's when you're really going to know it all. And then I want your job to be to remember that when you're 9 and when you're 10 and for the rest of your life. They both looked big-eyed at me when I told them at separate times, and they want to believe, and I want to believe. The moon. An alien. A bike. And a boy. For some of us, it brings up a certain image, yes? Okay. But the possibilities for what you're thinking about, are really infinite. They're very infinite. There's more that you could have pictured in your mind, but we happen to know this one story, this one common story of being 8. That's how old I was when E.T. came out to the theaters. Well, actually, I think it spent a year and a half in the theaters. So at some point when E.T. was out, I was 8. And I watched Elliot save an alien with his bike. And I had a bike. I had the toy E.T., but I didn't have a real alien, but I had a bike. And I had this problem. I was going to be in a talent show. And for this talent show, I needed a particular outfit, like you do in a 3rd grade talent show, right? And I needed to have pom-poms, a certain color. I did not have anybody to take me to get these pom-poms because I had 10 brothers and sisters at home, and my mom was a little bit busy. And so the pom-poms were not at the front of her mind. So I decided that I would take my bike and find my pom-poms. For some reason, I knew how to look up a phone number in the phone book. I don't know if 8-year-olds know how to do that now. They just Google it or something. But I knew how to look up a phone number in the phone book. I called the different places I thought might have it. And then I got on my bike and biked across Lancaster, California, all the way from one dirt field side of that town to the other. And I picked up my pom-poms. I forgot to get the money for tax. But I bought those pom-poms. I brought them home, and I slept with them that night. That taught me something. It taught me something at that age about something that I can do. And I didn't know it at the time. Instead, I went out searching. I went out searching for answers. I went to school because I thought, I have this feeling like I want to go change the world. I want to make the world a better place. I have this feeling like I can, but I have to be educated first, right? I have to go to school. Nobody will listen to me if I don't get a degree first. So I didn't just get one degree, my diploma first, then my associates. I did go on to Fresno State and get a math degree, and then I went to law school because I still didn't feel like I could talk about what was important to me, and then business school. And it took me all that time and all that education to realize I could have done something when I was 8. So when I first started doing this, I thought, okay, I have to go get some research, some science, because my poor sister and my poor niece are going home with these 7-year-olds, and they're not going to know what to do because now they think they're going to know it all at 8. So I really need to know if this is true. I'm not a neuroscientist. I didn't say that in any of my credentials, right? So if I were to give you a talk on the brain, this is about what the slide would look like. This is as much as I know. I did a ton of research, and yes, in fact, there's an amazing amount of information about early childhood, even preconception, conception, early childhood kind of misses in the middle. And then we go to adolescence, where the time when you want to scan your child's brain again, I guess. But the adolescent period and on, but this middle childhood period from about 6 to 11 is called the forgotten years by many. And yet I could see in their eyes that there was something so valuable, not to be forgotten by them, and shouldn't be forgotten by us. I went on from school to go work for the last 10 years in fighting human trafficking. And then a very humbling thing happened. I realized I couldn't do it. Not with the tools I had, not with the degrees I had, not with all the information I had, and not even with the experience I had as being a survivor myself. This humbling experience, lemons make lemonade, and there's this wonderful young Vivian Har who at 8 years old saw a picture, much like the one you saw with girls, but they were with boys carrying bricks. And she said, those boys, they should be in school. They should be playing. And she didn't stop there. She went to her parents and she said, I want to do something about it. I want to take action. And she built a lemonade stand. And that lemonade stand, for 365 days, she had open, and she raised $100,000. That could have paid my tuition. She raised $100,000. That was so amazing. I thought, I paid $100,000. She raised $100,000. Amazing, amazing 8-year-olds. And she has her own TED Talks, actually 2, so you could find out more information about her. But her passion, her belief, her ability to do this, she knew it. She already knew at 8 years old. This is a recent quote. I just landed right on me when I was doing the research. It was great, perfect timing. Thank you, President Obama, for saying this. But he was saying, even most 8-year-olds know that slavery was a bad time. It was not just a bad time. It is a bad time. It's still a bad time, and 8-year-olds still know that it is a bad time. This guy, if you know him, he was a prodigy at 2. So I thought to myself, well, if he could have done it at 2, can't every 8-year-old do it? But it turned out that when he was identified as the 14th Dalai Lama, that he was going to be trained, he was going to be received into a community, that they were going to transfer knowledge and ideas and learning and temperament and all this goodness to build up his heart and to build him up as the leader he would become when he was 23. So that would not be the best evidence. I looked around at other examples, and there were a lot of children that are in places where they're stuck, and they can't make lemonade. They can't make lemonade, and how frustrating is that? Because a vision is absolutely amazing, and we all need to have a vision. We all need to have something that we believe in, that we can do. But we also need to know how to get there. We also have to be shown the way, and I think it's been mentioned, and you know this. You know this already. You need that mentor. You need that guide. You need to know how to get there. This man fascinated me. Richard Branson, at 7 years old, was a very shy young boy. And if you see him or meet him today when he walks into the room, you will recognize quickly that he has gotten over that shyness. The story that he tells about his shyness is part of the key to understanding what's going on in middle childhood. When he was 7 years old and he was shy, his mom didn't just say, "Okay, I have a shy child." She said, "I will not have a shy child. Richard, it's selfish. You need to look people in the eye. You need to talk to people." And so she took her young 7-year-old son, and I do not recommend this, just in case any social workers are in the room, okay? But she took her 7-year-old son, Richard Branson, across about 3 miles away from home. There was a field and things he had to cross. And she said, "You're going to have to talk to people to get home." Richard Branson. So what did that build in him? What was growing in his brain at that time that was just turned on like a super highway? He could do anything if he could just make it home. And he made it. He made it. I think they said it took about 10 hours in his estimate, but he made it home. He talked to people. But someone had to believe in him. Someone had to say, "You can do this." Someone had to drop him off and be waiting for him at home. This idea, again, I'm no expert at. I did do some teaching, in case I have any former math students in the audience. Yes, forgive me, please. Yes. I did do some teaching on an emergency credential, and so I have exposure in the classroom, and I wouldn't call myself an expert, but it's about this thing that we can do, and someone identifying it, and this social scientist, Vygotsky, he put together this theory that I just couldn't believe I'd never heard before. I'd heard Piaget's, I'd heard other stages of development theories, but I hadn't heard this one. And I thought, it really does make sense that we need to move from things that we can do to things that we can do with help. And then someday, we're going to reach those things that we can't yet reach, but we will. So this ZPD, the zone of proximal development, this ZPD is the area that is so important and critical at that time, in my view, in my experience. This is a quote. Those are that classroom, that excitement. I think you guys all remember it, dread it, maybe, yes, from being in elementary school. But that classroom is not what solves the problem. That classroom, and it's already been said, you already know this, is not what teaches the child. So there are many organizations that have spent billions of dollars on education. And those billions of dollars are wonderful, but don't go anywhere until you have the mentors, until you have the guides that can help them become the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses in their communities. This quote is, again, I'm trying to quote as many 8-year-olds as possible, and Richard Branson kind of struck me as that, but before you quit and say, I give up. This quote was from an 8-year-old, and this 8-year-old is super special. He was the first recipient of a double hand transplant. And the reason I chose his story is because there was an element of his story that showed me what kids have at 8 years old. At 8 years old, he walked in for this surgery not with just do this for me, a flat attitude or no personality. He walked in and he believed. He believed that those hands, those donors' hands, were going to be attached to his wrists, that he was going to have hands again. He believed it, and he was so infectious and so happy and so wonderful with all the staff that he made them believe it too. And I think that 8-year-old, Zion Harvey, I think he changed medicine in one hospital that will spread out to many. But he had someone. He had someone. He had a few someones. And that's important. That's critical. For me, I ended up in juvenile hall when I was a kid. I am a survivor of trafficking. And I was fortunate enough to have a math teacher who believed in me. I wrote her a letter at the end of my time when I was getting out of juvenile hall. She wrote a letter saying that I had completed algebra, and I wrote her a letter of thanks. And I said, thank you, Mrs. Wegerman, because above learning math in your class, I learned that I could do something. Today, algebra. Tomorrow, maybe a doctor or a scientist. Thank you for believing in me. I needed it. And I think we all need it. An interesting thing happened while I was doing all this research. I went out into the world and I spent some time with my family, some more family, and I was able to do a day of painting, a Saturday of painting, with my nephew, Caleb. And he showed me this picture, and I'm kind of mocking it up with the computer, but he showed me this picture that had a straight line and a circle around it. And I said, oh, Caleb, I said, you're drawing a spaceship? And he said, no, it's a building. So I said, okay, that's a building. And then he proceeded to tell me, oh, well, it needs a base, and it needs these other things, and he drew this picture. I said, have you seen that building before? And he said, yeah, and one of those things, viewfinder, right, the little thing. He had never been to Seattle to see that. So who am I to tell him what he knows and what he doesn't know? Who am I to tell him if that is a spaceship or a building? Really, I'm there to listen and watch all this amazingness in him. So my challenge for you, because you already knew this, you already know this when you walked in, my challenge for all of you is that you go back there sometimes, especially when it's rough, especially when it's tough, especially when you're being frustrated by every single system that's out there and it feels like every wall is in front of you. Go back there to Vivian's place. Go to Zion's place. Use your imagination that was given to you and make yourself 8 again. You will change the world. There's infinite possibilities when we leave here. So many things that you can do. But the one that I ask you to do is to be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others as they're exploring like children around this universe, just like all of us. Thank you.